Two,
Okay.
and we are back.
Hey people, yes, so I just stepped away for a slash.
Hmm.
Didn't
Must.
really know what that means. Yeah. So, yeah, here we are. So, no, for that matter, I think for part two we got a video. Do you want to
Yeah, I want to.
share?
It's a short video, and by Extra Credit. I quite like Extra Credit. It's a great channel. Talks about video games, methodology, the creation of them, the ideology behind it. The when the original creator, the original voice left, new guy came in, got a little bit preachy. You know, they had a video about whether it was right to be able to play as the Nazis in a historical shooter. And they made some interesting points on both sides, but they certainly lent on the no, it's not right. We shouldn't advocate for Nazis in any way, shape, or form. I don't disagree, but I don't think that being
I,
able to choose them as a game, as an option in a game, is going to influence anyone to the point
yeah,
of joining up.
I believe
Um,
being mature, you know, if you bloody well know you're playing a game, I mean, is this, I'm kind of getting tired of people throwing that N-word around all over the place as though
well, this is
it's
actual
not,
Nazis. This is like a historical drama. It's a historical
yeah,
war
I understand.
shooter. It's set
Mm,
in the Second World War. You are playing the forces who were at conflict, and being able to choose either side is just a prerequisite of most video games.
right.
You know, there are a
Mm.
bunch of characters you have to play as them. StarCraft. When I'm playing StarCraft, I can choose to play as the humans, the aliens, or the monsters. That's a
Exactly.
choice.
So I think if you've
But
got the maturity for it, then go for it. If it offends you, then just don't play the freaking game. I
well,
mean,
yeah, that was their argument is that people shouldn't be playing it. If you don't like, don't play the game. But I think there is nuance to it. But honestly, I'm against the idea of just withholding it as a point.
yeah, me, yeah.
Again, different conversation, different conversation. But anyway, they come on. They're doing just a short of from them recently, and I think it's worth talking about.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Okay,
Let's
I'm
do
going to
it.
share
I'm also taking
screen.
notes as well. Just got this pen right.
Okay, here we are.
Yeah.
Hey, Wukong.
Ah, yes, yes, yes.
Right, okay,
Let's have
right,
a look. See.
ready?
The U.S.
Hit
games
it.
industry isn't ready for the wrecking ball that is China. We've always considered it a big market, of course, but like every other
Really
industry
excited.
that enters China, we're not even remotely prepared for them to make the switch from a place we use for outsourcing to being major producers in their own right, and that's already happened. For instance, did you know that more people now use Steam in Chinese than in English? Yep. Not to mention titles like Black Myth Wukong did sales numbers in China alone that rival
That that's almost Breath of the Wild.
Hmm, interesting.
many of the
Uh,
biggest worldwide releases. A company called Empyrean just did an excellent report on the state of the industry, and in it they found that 42% of all spending growth in the industry in the past 14 years was on games produced in China, and that 15% of all growth came from people outside of China spending on Chinese games. So we really shouldn't keep ignoring China as the Western game development industry goes down in flames. Look, China's investment in game publishers and dev studios has been going on for a while, but if Western studios don't start paying more attention to their games and get themselves prepared, that part of the industry risks being left behind.
I think this is
hmm.
what I was talking about specifically because China's been building instead of importing games, they are beginning to outsource. They're beginning to produce their own games, and they've made a few headways. Black Myth Wukong is amazing. It's an amazing game, but it got some flack when not long before it released because the development team were all men. They didn't have any women. It was all very sexist, something like that. And they went, "Nah, screw it. We're Chinese. Fuck you." And just kind of like hard no, like hard pass on the Western traditions or Western expectations. We don't do it like that. And they're like, "Oh well, we should real quite the game." No, the game was awesome. It was worth playing. You know.
I got respect
So
that.
yeah, and as you saw there, the last three, the gaming industry has for a long time basically been, Europe is a big market, true, but localization kind of keeps it fragmented. The big markets are Japan and America. They are the big players in video gaming. They're the ones who help lead the conversation. Well, it ain't the case anymore. You know, 42% is spent on in China, either coming into China or coming out of China, and people are 50% of non-China's spend on Chinese games. That's over 10%. over 10% of all the 15% of all the money spent on gaming, period, is coming from other countries buying Chinese.
Interesting.
About
Interesting.
27% of all the money spent on video games is Chinese spending in China. That's a big market. The fact that, you know, well, this one scared me. This one, more people use Steam, the
China.
monopoly, the platform to use PC games in Chinese than in English. That includes Europe, Australia, and America. Most of the world uses Steam in English, even if it's not their first language. But Chinese, there are so many gamers, so many people spending. I mean, it's impossible to ignore the deluge of
Hmm.
Chinese games, both small
Interesting.
and large, on Steam. There's a lot of them, but to know that they are now the number one users of Steam.
Interesting.
I'm
Okay.
I'm a European gamer. I grew up with the simple games, with the 2Ds. I went from 6-bit to 12 to 6 to 12 to 24 to all the way up. So 8-bit,
Hmm.
16-bit, 32, 64, and I remember when the hobby was seen as underground, lesser known, and then kind of went mainstream, became counterculture, but that kind of hobby hot topic. It's for sale, counterculture,
Hmm.
PlayStation, and went from
Yeah.
strength to strength, and has only risen to the point now that it's the world's biggest pastime. More money is in gaming than in movies than in music. And if almost, look at that, almost 40, like 30, 40%,
Hmm.
over 40%
Hmm.
of all the money in the industry comes from people buying Chinese or Chinese buying Chinese. That's over
Hmm.
40% of all the money from the largest industry is
This
being
is.
spent on China, is going to China. That must be acknowledged. We have to
Yeah.
acknowledge it. And that kind of weight means that when they start making plays, when they start making expectations of, oh, you can do this, you can't do this, people people capitulate. You know,
Yeah,
I
dude.
remember
This is.
it's happened already, but not around the time of the disastrous Cyberpunk 2077 game, because it came out and it
Oh,
was just, oh my God, it was terrible. Quietly, a game set in Taiwan by the same producer was released. It was supposed to be quite good, but China had that shit dropped. We're like, no, we don't want that. They didn't want any attention to Taiwan, any attention to what was going on, and it was just dropped. It was just quietly removed from the store shelves. I don't know if it's still possible to buy the game, but if you search for it on Steam, on GOG, on other platforms, no, there's no link. You cannot, unless you want to send you the actual page address, you can't search for it. It's just been removed from search engines.
man, this
I
is
like,
why it's why I can't really work with well, the CCP, of course, no. The China people, I love China, and like, I grew up, know what I mean? Not just kung fu movies, which is a huge part of my being. Um, but it's just Chinese food, Chinese culture, I just love it. It's just a part of me. But I can't work with this stuff this CCP is trying to do. Yeah. At the same time, numbers are numbers, right? So no matter what, feelings are feelings, numbers are numbers. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, I mean, I think I understand that CCP's got their eye on Okinawa at the moment. Where I'm at, people, along with Taiwan for military purposes, which is why I guess America's trying to bolster up the troops on that front. But that being said, the whole thing about the Taiwan, you can't say this, you can't say that business. I can't rock with. We were just talking a moment ago about the Nazis, the idea of Nazis being game characters. If you're dealing with a country that says you can't be as creative as you want to be. Now, again, I understand some things like poor taste, but I prefer letting the market decide if something is not so good. You know what I'm saying? But when you're dealing with that,
we come from a free market for the most part.
mm,
We come from a culture that is theoretically meritocratic.
yeah.
Put it out. If people choose it, if people invest in it, if people want it, that's a success. You let the market decide if it's a success. You don't get to say if it's good or bad. it's response. It is the consequences of your actions. It is judging people by their choices. And
Yeah.
yeah, that feels like the right thing to do. But then we do come from a culture where that is far normalized. Whereas
Yeah.
China, it has been an authority figure. The party is everywhere. It's the kind of country where people put posters of the leader in their house. You're like,
Bloody hell.
what?
Yeah, I mean,
It
that kind
feels
of stuff. I mean, like, it's too in my face. I'm like, I can't, no, no, no. But
feels weird. It feels
so,
like weird. It just feels weird. For me, it feels weird. But
but there's a lot of
But
depth.
it's
I
a
mean,
big country, but it's a massive country, and they have gone from rural agricultural dirt farmers to a massive superpower. They are the second world superpower, hands down. There's no one who really rivals them. Russia's pissy. That's why they're taking over more land because China's just got so much money.
Mhm.
But
What's funny about China is that,
their
yeah,
way of doing it is so antithetical to other ways of doing things, like that kind of authority and
yeah.
absolute
I mean,
mind control.
yeah, that is it. That's it. It's,
It's 1984 of it all. Like, whoa,
yeah,
no, I don't like it.
dude.
You
Yeah,
can't have other platforms. You have to have state sanctioned one, and they
for
have
people who
absolute
don't,
control over it.
bloody hell, for people who don't even play the bloody things, what I'm saying, they want to get in safe and they say what you can and can't say. Now, I mean, of course, now that being said, we understand, in the West, liberal media's, sorry, people, mental that, liberal media is very much the general media that we are presented with. And of course, when it comes to their relationship with China, there's a lot that they let slide that China doesn't let slide in their country. If they don't want Taiwan mentioned in the game, but if they want to say what we should say, we capitulate. And that's kind of stuff I'm like, I just can't, over. So that being said, there are other narratives out there saying that, for instance, I think China's actually right now, as far as tariffs are concerned, they're actually they don't want to say it because they're all about we'll fight to the end. That's the thing. Like, if Xi Jinping ever turned and suggested actually negotiating, he lose credibility. So
No, of
yeah,
course.
but so there's different tariffs affect different industries in different ways, different kinds of tariffs. When it comes to things like chips. Well, let me see. I think Apple is moving their base to India. I think to get
Yes,
a lot of
that's
parts made.
true.
Yeah.
I've heard that what at least they're expanding a pre-existing factory. I think they have a factory in it, but what they're going to do is do a massive retrofit and kind of expand it out so that they can do a lot more work out of India. But
Exactly. So
China made a name for itself, made a lot of money being the world's factory, and a lot of people don't get that. That's how a GDP works, right? A country doesn't
yeah,
make money by selling to its own citizens. That's
yeah,
just
dude.
taking.
Exactly.
I'll give you a dollar, and you'll pay a dollar in taxes, and I'll give you a dollar, and then you'll pay a dollar in taxes. That's just circulating the same money. A
Exactly.
country makes money by selling to other countries, and
That
China has
is
been
what.
selling factory work and services for a long time now, making a ton of money. And that has allowed them to build a middle class, which is where equality and social improvements come from. When
Dude,
America had through the after the 40s, the world, they've had the 50s and the 60s, where they expanded the middle class as out. They taxed the hell out of the rich, they supported the poor, and they built a middle class. And that's where people go to universities from the middle classes. They can afford to start businesses. They're able to buy cars. It is great for the economy, and so China has done that. But it's a precarious situation because they've been aggressively expanding and looking good for a while, but China's
yeah.
economy ain't doing so well at this point.
Dude,
But
that's it. So this is exactly how this is actually how tariffs work. This is why a lot of countries tariff if tariffs didn't work, other countries wouldn't tariff other countries. I mean, so to speak. Now that being said, I understand it is that naturally when you annoy people with the amount of tariffs you raise, they say, "All right, we're gonna F you back," and blah blah
yeah,
blah blah.
absolutely.
And then here we are today. That being said, they of course you can't keep charging your own people the money you want to try and raise. It'll just drive up, and then of course you
Yeah,
need to
it
print
just
more
makes it
money to keep
harder
it.
to tariffs makes it harder to sell to other countries, meaning that the money that the company makes, which is the money that goes into your country, is smaller, but it means that most companies just send the costs down to the customer. If
Now,
they
is
have
it
to charge
right?
more to get their product sending, which is how they make their money. So they're going to charge people more. They don't want. The
Basic
company don't want to lose
economics.
any money.
Yeah, dude, I think we need to give your audience a civics lesson about economics. This is how it goes because we hear all this stuff. And hey, you know what? It's like they say, like the stock market sometimes is driven based on media narrative. If somebody says this is not selling, then it influences it. This is why some people says you can't be rooting against a country who's trying to get the money through what they're trying to do. It's like treason. It's like you're just kind of
Uh,
rooting.
it, it, I think it's people equating the country and the people. I don't. When you put
Oh, fair enough. Good point.
when you levy like a tariff on a country, the country isn't the one who's paying it. It's the people in it. It's the companies who are in it. It's the companies who have that
Mm,
relationships. Hey, you have a product we want. We want to sell your product in our country. Can you send us that product? Yeah, absolutely. We'll negotiate a fair, reasonable price. I make a little money. You make a little money. We'll have a good relationship. And then the president or the grand leader go, yeah, we're going to make that cost more. And they're like,
mm,
well, we've got a good relationship going. We're doing well. We're making money. I can support my family. I'm building a business. He's supporting his family. He's building his business. I'm assuming they're both men. But
yeah,
the,
yeah, I
that
guess.
free trade makes
Mm,
it easier for money to go both ways.
yes, yes.
And if you put if you levy a tariff on that, it just makes everything more expensive, which means that people who don't have that kind of clout, who are smaller, smaller companies, they can't afford it. That means they
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
get the materials they need to make their products, or they can't even get the products that they wanted to sell.
yeah,
It's big companies
yeah,
can weather it because they have options. Apple is just moving most of their work to another company. Sorry, another country. Yeah, they
yeah.
can afford it. Apple can afford it, but the dude who
The
makes
people,
artisanal Apple cases, he's boned.
right? Yeah, that is it. Yeah, this is a very
But
good lesson.
yeah, but
Discussion.
bottom
And
line is
coming back
that
to Nintendo. Mm.
that problem with China and America is levying against this. I don't know whether it's going to work against digital products though. I think that's something that I'd have to look into because
Mm.
how do you tariff a digital product if the servers that require to use the thing are on both sides? Like you
Oh, that's a good
download data
point.
from one country, but
Yeah,
you the server for using the product is in another country. We have a
that is a
globalized information network. And so if I set up a server farm and I run a program or an app or a game or something, it's decentralized for the most
right.
part. Bits of information all over the place.
Mm.
So how do you
Mm.
tariff a digital thing?
That's a very you know what? I noticed something like that. I heard about chips and all the process and all these things. I haven't heard about digital IP. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. That's my next. I'm
now
gonna research it this week.
buying a Switch 2 is harder because they are made in China, and that means that they
Ah,
come from China to America, which is going to be harder for the Americans. So that's going to be them. But
yeah. What are you gonna do? But unless
but the
they go to
digital
India,
thing
where it's too late now.
does get around that, I think. Yeah.
It should do. This is it, mate. I mean, bloody hell. Yeah, I want to hear that. Nobody spoke. I've done a lot of research on it, but I've never heard really people talk about the digital side. That is good. People in the comments, drop a, if you have any
Yeah,
idea.
no. We're going to do a little digging. I
Hmm.
think this
We
is
should.
worth talking about. Will digital? Nintendo has pivoted towards game cards. Will game cards be tariffed? Especially if you're not buying a physical unit. If you're not buying a
Mm.
physical unit, I'm just does that get taxed? Do digital games
Yes, please. You did
get
your search.
tariffed?
Man, I'm out of tea. That is a
Yeah,
good. It's a good
apparently
question.
downloaded games won't be subject to tariffs, meaning that they're comparatively less expensive.
So
Digital
maybe
games are
you never
not
know.
subject. Yeah.
Give me then. What if Nintendo's been smarter than people realize, and they'll actually get cheaper stuff if it's digital? The only problem is they still get squeezed because it's leased. For God's sake.
Yeah, well, yeah, they talked about the cost of the games going up, but they have already acknowledged that digital games are still cheap, still cheaper than physical.
Hmm.
The tariff they came
Ah.
at the worst time. Like Nintendo were planning on increasing the cost of the physical games, and
Hmm.
then tariffs came and made they to increase the prices even further, which made them seem really, really unpleasant. Well, that would sour the opinions of other people, especially if they wanted to play multiple games. They couldn't afford to buy one physical game, but you can buy two digital.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, digital games
I mean,
seem safe. Apparently, GameIndustry.biz say tariffs are an industry nightmare. understandable. But digital games seem safe. There's a silver lining, and those who are using digital platforms, you're good.
It
But
seems,
again,
I mean, I think one of those two
this is another example of how physical media is based
being
around
phased out.
older principles. It is a product to be sold and an old world version of a product. Digital platforms are not regulated the same way because the technology moves so fast. The law can't keep up. We are still trying to legislate. In Europe, they are still trying to legislate around changes that have happened decades ago, but it's still fairly lawless. The law moves slowly because it's careful, deliberate. It's like science. You have to go by evidence. You have to be able to prove your assertions. So until stuff happens, you don't have a legal precedent.
Yeah,
That's
it
why.
feels, it feels
No,
like
that's right. It's
cheese on
also
a.
why a lot of YouTubers have
Mm,
not pushed too hard when it came to fighting YouTube or fighting the system about being having their platforms taken down or content creation or content monetization because it's still kind of within YouTube's wheelhouse. YouTube makes the rules. They screw a lot of people over, but they also produce an open garden. Anyone can make anything they want and
yeah.
just put it up, and if it's popular, it gets monetized. It's not heavily regulated, but as soon as someone pushes it a little bit too far, someone goes to court, that sets a legal precedent. There is no legal precedent yet, or no major legal precedent yet. So, but people have been pushing that limit a lot,
Mm,
and
yeah.
it's one
Uh,
day dam's going to give. It's just I don't think Nintendo were fourth dimension 4D chessing it with
Just.
digital, moving to digital. I think it just more
Mm,
gives them a little bit more control. They save more money. They make more profit. But
mm.
I can absolutely see how it's getting harder to produce physical copies of things, which is a shame because I like physical copies. I like to own my game. You know,
Is it?
as
Yeah.
someone who has railed many times on this channel, I've lost games I purchased, but they were taken from me.
Yeah.
Ethan and I.
People, I don't know if I told you, but I lost one of my bank cards. Well, I think I mentioned it maybe a few months ago.
Yeah, we
And
mentioned it.
yeah, I couldn't log it. I couldn't log into the app to request a new card because I didn't have the number on the card. So sometimes the disparate, and the whole reason why I need to log in on the app is because suddenly the app upgraded and I needed to download the app on a new phone with a new OS because I can't use that app anymore. Because you see, they pulled the rug from under me just like that, and then all of a sudden I lost my card. I couldn't get in. So I need like, what do I do here? Like again, this is the catch 22. If you lose a physical thing, it's on you. But if they pull the rug from under you with the digital thing, who do you complain to? You know what I'm saying? So same thing with the games. They could pull the game from you if you bought it digitally, or you could lose a physical copy.
Yeah.
It's a response. At least with a physical copy, I can only blame myself. And I say, hey man, I should have been more careful with it. But when it comes to them just taking it from me, and if they wanted to, they have the power to give you the thing back, but they're going to demand put a paywall in between you getting the new one or not. I have to get a new phone just to get access to the damn app. And then on that note, I had to, by some miracle, thank God, I found the number to log into the card, and all the while that they couldn't care less about saying, "Oh, you're in this bit of a tight spot. Let me give you access to this thing that we could have." Just because they want more money. So that's what winds people up. If you do that with this, all over this dosh, which again, we were talking about earlier, we understand companies need their money, but come on, if you can't help people out here, they'll turn to some other beer baron, if you will.
It's true. It has to be a free exchange. It has to be a mutually beneficial arrangement. Most people, I want a product, you're selling a product, I'll give you the money, I get what I want, you get what you want. We both win. It's when companies start being cheap and miserly and penny pinching and poor practices. It
Mm.
creates a terrible environment. People don't want to buy from you. I haven't purchased a what's the company that made Borderlands?
Oh,
Gearbox.
yes.
I haven't purchased a Gearbox game since Borderlands 2 because Randy Pitchford, the head of the Gearbox, is an utter word I can't say on this platform. He's a massive word I can't say on this platform. I dislike the man so intensely. I don't buy that company's games anymore. I am hard rule, hard pass. Mercifully, they haven't released anything that really wowed me in a while, besides more Borderlands. But I, he has coloured that platform for me. I don't want to do it, and so I'm voting with my wallet. I'm saying I don't like you. I don't like what you've done. I don't agree with it. I'm going to vote with my wallet, which is how I feel the free market should be. Sink or swim, you do what you do. If a company just comes out and goes, "Hey, we've got a great product," that's it. Fine if the product lives or dies. But if you build a cult of personality around it, oh, people might buy into that and invest more. Or when if the person that the celebrity goes is soured, it might hurt the company. It's like Jared from Subway. Everyone loved Subway when Jared lost all that weight. Turns out he was also diddling kids. So,
Oh,
oh, yeah, they had to pivot away and like, they will distance ourselves from him. It's the
good
problem.
grief.
Yeah, it's the problem with marketing. It's the problem with companies doing company practices. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But it's all of this is chicanery when you could just release a great product. You know,
That is
Subway
it. So
sandwiches
it
are pretty
comes,
good. You know, I like
yeah,
Subway
this is
sandwiches.
it.
Yeah, don't give
Yeah,
it the
I love
bells and
Subway
whistles. Just
sandwiches.
just release a quality product. You know.
That is it. Dude, this it comes down to this. Just like so, with all that being said, can you win over the audience? I mean, now you can when you have bad practices, that's one way to turn them off. But if the product is that good, you could win them back. But you have to show some goodwill, I think. So let's if we've gone to Nintendo again for a second. This is why. Oh, we by the way, people, last week Gamer Dan dropped some gems about his description of Jack Black in the game world, but we weren't recording. And I thought we could just drop there for a second. The reason why I think Jack Black is such a significant actor to talk about right now, or personality, if you will, he's tied to, speaking of Nintendo, Japan and China, he's tied to two very important brands, Kung Fu Panda and Mario as Bowser. And there's a bit of controversy that kicked off with his band member over Trump nearly getting his brains blown out. Um,
Mm,
yeah, and I was like, oh man, you know what's funny? To be fair with you, I could say that could actually be, if you time it well, if you say it at the right time, that could be a funny joke, but a very dark one. But
yeah,
in this,
pitch black.
yeah, exactly. Under these circumstances, of course, it was poor and it wasn't. And I was thinking, at the end of the day, I don't want this to rub from Jack Black so much, because on one hand, he didn't say it, and two, I mean, sometimes people say things that are odd, and you just nervously laugh and blah blah blah. But two, yeah, he's also tied to Bowser. Now, this is me being me, but I just loved him as Bowser. And so when the Minecraft
Was a
movie came
great
out, I was
Bowser.
yeah, that's the thing. So I was thinking when the Minecraft movie came out, I was thinking, this would be his way to see if he's still got what it takes to win over the Kung Fu Panda audience and the Bowser. So he's a very important asset for America for the Asian icon market. And yeah, and thank goodness I thought he did well with the Minecraft movie. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I was personally rooting for him because I was thinking, come on, Jack Black. Now again, that's just me thinking about the wider politics, the culture, what do you call it? The pop culture stuff that is a part of all important context before you deal with the content that is his performance. Some people actually are good performers, some people create good content because of the stuff around. You don't get to appreciate what they call it. Oh, we have to kind of uh people get passed by and like for example, it could be JK, for example. And there's all sorts of stuff that somebody says and like there are people the wrong way. But at the end of the day, I love Harry Potter. I'm not gonna lie here. For example, so it could be Jack Black, it could be XYZ, fill in the blank. But
Sure.
with potential so high in the current climate with people belonging to tribes and so on, as and what have you, they are this is another thing I don't like. I don't like people pretending that something's good just because everyone likes it or because everyone said it's good. And I also don't like people not saying something's good just because, oh, because you're associated with this. I like to just judge it for
Mm.
myself. So like here we are today, and I understand the politics to do with money and the economy and all that stuff, but here we are today, I just wanna get somebody giving me their best stuff. And
I
yeah.
I completely agree. I think that's a fair position to take. It's a fairly reasonable thing. You judge art by the creator, or can art stand on its own two feet? You know,
Mhm.
don't judge the movie because the actor in it is an ass. judge the movie because it's a good movie.
Mm.
I want to do this. I do, but I'm human. I'm flawed. I'm layered, and I have my own preferences towards certain things. I think some art I could probably assuage myself of the chicanery, the rambunctiousness of the creator
Mm.
or the publishing house. I can ignore that and just enjoy the product, or at least watch it unbiasedly. But there are
Mm.
others that I can't. The actions of the creator or someone associated with it are so egregious to my sensibilities that it it poisons the well. No matter how
Mm.
hard I try to drink, I'm still tasting poison.
Mm.
And I think that's a personal decision, and you have to decide where's your line. At what point do you say no? But how much can you forgive? Do you blame the child for the father's actions? Is that fair? It's
Mm.
not fair. It's not fair to punish, especially when it comes to products, because it's not one person who makes these things. It is a whole team. It's a whole legion of individuals who develop games, artists, writers, musicians, coders, developers.
Mm.
But all of them working hard to produce the best thing they can to make something worthy of your time and your money.
Yeah.
And one person who's associated with them shits the bed, and they're poisoned too. They're ruined too. All of their work is lost. That's not fair.
Yeah.
But
Me
do
and
you?
Will Smith,
But yeah, but buying that product will support the person you don't like, knowing that yeah, when I buy this and I use this thing, I am actively enriching the person whom I openly disagree with. It's a very complicated position, and I don't take a stand on either side. I think it's a case by case.
case
I
by
I
case,
am
yeah.
I think that it's your personal line. I'm not going to begrudge anyone who does enjoy a product that I can't,
Mm.
just as I would hope no one would begrudge me for enjoying a product that they can't. I
Yeah.
think it's your own decision, and occasionally, I have been. While I will never play it, I might watch a let's play.
Mm. There you
You
go.
know,
That's
I
it.
might, I,
We can
might- yeah,
basically.
I might watch a let's play. I might watch. I might go and have a good conversation. I might buy a beer for my buddy and get him to tell me about it because
Mm.
I'd like to know. I'm not going to financially support the product,
Mm.
but I'm still curious. Come
Yeah,
on,
that's it. That is it. That is it.
come
I
on.
can't deny it, man. I can't deny it. It's a bit like again, like I said with Will Smith. I'm personally disappointed with that behavior, and I really don't think it was genuine. As I say, I think it looks orchestrated because of research. But at the end of the day, if he's made a movie that's pretty good, I'm gonna say, you know what, bloody hell. I'll give it a look in. But I'm still thinking, man, this guy really you crossed the line. But at the
Yeah,
same time, I'm thinking, hey man, I
I,
can't deny. Me and my wife had just listened to Will Smith, just the two of us on the other day. It's like, yeah, this man,
he's a
he's
really,
come from
really
a
good
long.
actor. He's always been a good actor. He's a
Very
great
good.
comedic actor, but I think he really showed off his chops. He's like, to me, he is a more refined, better version of Robin Williams. Robin Williams, hilarious. Love his comedy, his stand-up, his enthusiastic, high-energy kind of comedy, his gags and stereotypes and uh, references to celebrities. Loved it. But when he gets down to brass tacks and he does serious drama, man, cuts deep. He can be
Yeah,
really
definitely.
good. Even his funny films, when he gets serious, Patch Adams, Wake Up Vietnam, the
Yeah.
20-minute video, 20-minute
One
photo
hour
where
photo.
he plays when he plays
Yeah.
a serial stalker. That oh my
That
God,
was
that
hard,
that
man. That was hard.
broke me. But
I was
he
like,
was so
shit.
well, so good in it. But
Mm,
no one denies Will Smith isn't a brilliant actor. He's done some
mm,
amazing roles with some fantastic films. Um,
mm.
but yeah, I may be a little bit pissed with what he did now, but I'm still going to watch the movie if I think the movie's good. I think that's fair, and I don't think that's wrong. I think
I
that's
think
fine.
I just want to, this is one thing I love about the human spirit is yeah, yeah. I think we have. I think as a certain politician that said we actually have an appetite for forgiveness as well. That's to say, we don't actually like to bear grudges that much, because it's something. Even though we do, well, I'm not saying we don't. So another part of us says, "Man, this is getting heavy." It's like how old? It's like I'm trying to prove it. Like I send a message to this person, and
Takes
after a
energy to
while,
keep a grudge going, to keep yourself
yeah.
angry about something, and it only discolors, just
Mm.
makes everything else distasteful. We can, but I think we lean into forgiveness because we want to be forgiven. We live in a reciprocal society. We're supposed to treat people how we want to be treated. And
Yeah, that is it.
I forgiving someone is rarely in aid of the villain or the person who did it ill.
It's for
Forgiving
yourself.
someone is for the victim. It's allowing the victim to move on.
Yeah.
It's an act, a kindness to yourself. It's not a kindness to the person who did you wrong. The person who did you wrong, screw them. But forgiving them means that you're just not burdened by that weight. You're not holding on
Yes.
to it. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
don't. You're not holding that poison inside of you. Right,
That is it.
moving back, circling back
Yeah.
to kind of
Yeah.
put a tie a bow on this thing. Um, I I was shocked when I saw the numbers. If the numbers pan out
Right.
by that video for China, I think that it's the beginning of a change in the industry. I think Chinese sentiment is going to increase. We're going to get a lot more games coming out of China. We're going to see a lot more not pro China, but a lot more Chinese aesthetics, Chinese ideologies. It's like adding a bit of Buddhism into your games, or adding a bit of people's decisions are going to be less in keeping to a Western ideal, more to an Eastern ideal. I doubt
Yeah.
it's going to be on the nose, but I think the industry is going to slowly pivot to be a little bit more China friendly, and that includes content and material. But is that a bad thing?
But here's
Is
the
it a
thing,
bad
yeah,
thing? Are we being prejudicial here? Are we kind of putting the cart before the horse? Are we worrying about something that may not even be an issue? And maybe
uh,
we're tarring this with a brush from old China. Maybe we're looking at the CCP, the
mhm.
organization, and Xi Jinping, and saying, "Hey, all of you game developers are boned because you live there." Is that fair?
But right, good point. We're just talking about this. My issue with China is that we've already been like this. I mean, they've already been telling us what we can't put in our movies. Again, if you can say, "Oh, yeah, that's the movies that we're showing here and we're showing in China." No, 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 no. It's influenced all over the place. You're not allowed to say it because it hurts the Chinese people's feelings. Talk about Taiwan. Who
We got a
the
lot of
hell?
movies set in
How do you?
China.
Yeah,
Transformers, MCU just happen to have
yeah.
appearances of China.
Exactly. So I'm saying that I think it's been something that's discussed by many politicians, and it's not been brought up till now that, come on, dude, look, at the end of the day, there is a lot of people are kowtowing already. And if they start seeing more China sentiment, I think that's just going to be a sign that we're kowtowing still. So I think there's nothing wrong with China. I mean, I respect countries and the sovereignty and what have you. It's just a case of we can't be biting our own tongue just because you don't hurt your people's feelings. What the hell does that mean? You know, they keep saying don't offend the Chinese people's feelings if you say Thailand's a country. How do you know what people feel? You don't care about your shrinking family size
Yeah.
and all that stuff. For God's sake, don't talk nonsense. I'm like, okay, let me
I,
chill.
if you're for those of you out there, thank you for watching. This has been
Yeah,
it became a bit of a heady topic, a bit of a heavy topic, but I would recommend Inside China.
yeah,
There is a YouTube channel that I adore. I'm trying China Insider with David Zhang. China Insider with
division.
David Zhang. He looks at a lot of what's going on in China using Chinese media. It gives you a much more realistic idea of what is going on there, and
Yeah,
it's good and the bad. I think we should be paying a little bit more attention
it's true, man.
and
One way or
maybe
another.
not looking at it with our own prejudicial views. Check it out.
Yeah,
China Insider with David Zhang. It's Zhang. Thank you for watching this. We're going to put a pin in this now.
yeah.
Soon, I say soon we'll be have we got a few more people lined up to join.
Looking forward to it.
A few people coming. Well, we're not going to say names yet until they're here,
Yeah,
but we're looking to try to expand, get a few more faces here, and hopefully soon enough we'll have a PlayStation. Well, soon enough we'll have a Switch 2 amongst one of us to play with.
yeah, mate. And that's it. I got somebody on that Brit introduce themselves too. Thanks so much for watching, people. And yeah, I watched China
Yeah, like,
Turns
share, and
very
subscribe.
deep. Yeah, like, share, subscribe, and that's it. I think pretty
That's
much
it. That's it.
people catch you
All
next
right.
time. Peace.
Peace. See you next time.
Yeah, mate.